Welcome to the Troy Kearns Podcast. We discuss real estate investing, entrepreneurship, and business to help you retire and become financially free. Make sure you share this podcast with someone who could benefit from it and leave us a 5-star review. It truly helps me out. This show will mentor you towards financial freedom. If I can do it, so can you.
Good news, finally. That big house that I had finally closed.
It did close. Last time we talked,
$6 million. $6 million. It was our biggest sale. It was our most expensive property. It actually, I'm not going to mention his name, but it actually sold to one of the largest independent home builders in the United States. He bought it for his daughter. And man, the guy's a tough negotiator for sure. But in the end, he turned out to be a real gentleman. I met him at the property. I had never met him before. Interesting that I had been almost 30 years in the real estate business and him even more than that in the same city. And we had never crossed paths. At one time he lived 2 houses away from me, but okay. In the end, like I said, he turned out to be a real gentleman, a tough negotiator, but
it was in business anymore. I thought he had sold out.
Well, he sold Nevada.
Dude,
but he still owns all the land, apparently. I mean, you could tell the guy is a shrewd operator.
That gives me.
But it was interesting. I met him there when we were doing the walkthrough to make sure all of the inspection items got fixed. And I have a story about this for all of you guys out there that want to be in the flipping business or are in the flipping business. And even whether you're at my level or at a lower level, whatever, this is a story you definitely need to hear. But I'll get to that right after this. But we were walking through and he said that he brought his main construction manager with him to see the house. And he said the reason he bought it, he said, I walked my construction manager here and he couldn't believe how much money you guys had spent in here. The quality of finishes, the appliances, all. He said, we have been looking at dozens and dozens of homes. We looked at another one in a neighborhood called Bellasaire, bigger than yours, a guy that remodeled it. And he said, my construction manager walked in that one and ripped it apart, limb from limb. And he said he walked in here and his mouth was on the floor. He couldn't believe what was in here. But what I wanted to say, as it pertains to this inspection thing, is I always have all of my homes inspected, generally prior to them going on the market, because I understand that the inspection is where deals fall apart, right? Like, 100%. So if you could just pay $500 for a home inspection and then go in there and fix every single item, because every inspector is going to find something else, right? But so if you fix everything on your inspection, when they have their inspection, they find 3-4 items, whatever, it's no big deal. And everybody goes away happy. So I did that. So I waited till after the house was on the market for a few months because our steam units were on back order. It was a very specific steam unit, Kohler steam units, because we needed a certain amount of steam, but we needed the power sucking from the panel to be under a certain amperage. So they were the only ones that could do it. So anyway, we get the house inspected. All of my subs who have been with me forever, the week before Christmas, I hand them all the inspection. I go, fellas, fix it all. And they all get back to me within 2 or 3 days and they said, oh yeah, we fixed everything. Larry had his inspector come, 82 items. My guys didn't fix a single thing. They all had the fuck-its the week of Christmas. And they just decided to tell me they fixed it all without fixing it.
Yeah, it sounds like my kids.
Man, everybody left those phone conversations at least 15 pounds lighter. I was livid. Yeah. So, this was a compressed closing, right? Like I only gave him the price that I gave him because we had to close before the year end. And he didn't think I was going to be able to do it. And we had basically 2 days to fix 82 items. And we had, 25 construction trucks lining the street. Every single sub was there. We knocked out every single item in 2 days. It was a feat.
Well, that is a load off, dude. I mean, that property had you spun, right? Like that, talk to, for those who don't know, I'm going to backtrack and then I want you to fill in. So I met Jason about I don't know, 18 years ago now, and you started really getting into the luxury flipping game, I guess about 8 years ago is what I'm guessing in my head. Is that right?
About that. Yeah, about that. That's about right.
So you've just continued to level up and level up and level up, and basically has carved out a niche market into Spanish trails, really. And then you've gone out into other high-end luxury communities. And when you're leveling up, you didn't just level up with the number of houses. You were buying $1 million houses, but you went to another level where it's kind of like going for broke when you go into that type of a level where it's like, I couldn't possibly sleep at night having those types of mortgage payments. Can you talk to everybody about like what you had on your plate?
Sure. So, we've talked about our financing that we do at Max Capital on this podcast a few times, but in this case in particular, I told you I think it was on last week's episode that the contractor that we had was 151 days late delivering the structure. It took us over another 120 days to untangle that web with the city because they put a stop order, and we had to go all the way back to revision 1 for the plans and kind of walk them through how we got to revision 5 and where the things should be inspected, how they should be inspected, when they should be inspected, and why we were here. And it just took an extraordinary amount of time to do it. And I don't think I would have been able to get through it myself if it wasn't for the architecture and engineering team that I had on the property. They kind of rolled up their sleeves and dug right in, which was amazing to see. So, basically that pushed our project back a year. And so even though we get, a year without making payments on the property, that second year we were definitely making the payments. And that was a $3.3 million loan, and we were paying, about $30,000 a month just on the mortgage payment.
So that'll cause a lot of stress when you have a project like that. Yeah. And so, did you do okay on this one overall?
We did. Another thing, my wife, when we were doing the books towards the end, we thought we were going to take a loss on this house. We thought we were going to take an L. I think I told you that privately.
Yeah.
And and for some reason, like, the numbers just kept not making sense to me. And the spreadsheet of expenses was so long on this. It was so cumbersome because of all of the things that we did and the amount of time that we owned the house. My wife kept saying, you're okay with, taking this loss. You're okay with taking this loss. You're okay with it. And I was totally okay with it. But somewhere in the back of my mind, like, it just didn't add up. Like, there was just no way that, we should have been taking a loss. And, so I said, we need to open up this spreadsheet again. Like, we need to do this again. And, instead of categorizing the spreadsheet by date, let's categorize it by amount spent per incident, right? Like, so each line item, go from the most expensive to the least expensive. And the first 3 items that we found were $500,000 that we never even spent. They were just bids from contractors that we had, that when we switched bookkeeping, whoever the bookkeeper was at that time put them in there as if they were paid, because none of the checks going out matched the expenses on that sheet. Yeah. And it just kept bothering me. And, fortunately, my wife is much better at an Excel spreadsheet than I am.
Yeah.
And, we were able to move around that thing, and we probably found close to $1 million worth of duplicates.
Yeah. I mean, the point on that one that I would make, and I've certainly had that type of a year myself. I've always been on top of my bookkeeping. And then when I moved to Kansas City, somebody tapped themselves in on my team. That person really didn't keep up on stuff as much as they need to. So I've spent the whole part of this year cleaning everything up.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, you don't get what you pay for. Like, I was paying $140,000 a year to this lady and her son, and they left things in shambles. Now I'm paying $25 an hour to a guy in India named Pradeep. and they are doing a phenomenal job. Where she would tell me, you need 10 people. And I'm like, I'm buying real estate. This is not that complicated. You know what I mean? Like, you're just not staying on top of things. And they have got it to the point where everything is just ironed out. And I had originally, it was such a long process because I tried to hire my way out of it. Like, I kept trying to interview the professional. I brought in one of my students, and my student was like, I could tell that he knew he couldn't hack it, basically. One of the guys who was in my program, and I paid him a good amount of money too. And he basically came to me and said, I'm going to let you down. And I think you should hire.
Well, at least he was honest.
For sure. No, 100%. Like, he wanted to leave and have a good relationship versus, screw it up for me more. And that's exactly, he left me in a better position than he started. And we spent the last year just cleaning everything up, where I'm finally, my taxes are filed for 2024. Everything is done. And it feels so good. So to talk about where you're at with that project, to know that you actually made money, and for people to understand, like, when you go 2 years of spending money, I mean, because doing a flip is like a money spending spree. All you're doing is spending money on supplies, on vendors, on utilities, insurance.
It's like you flipped the switch on a vacuum and you could just hear the sucking sound of money right out of your bank account every single day.
Right. And, and then you've got, okay, I'm using this credit card to pay the bills. And then, that one's maxed out. Somebody use this one. Okay, that one's maxed out. So I'm going to use this one. And then, and then you're just constantly, you can spend, especially when you get into those $1 million houses.
Yeah.
So how much did you pay for the house?
2.2.
And you sold it for $6 million.
Yep.
And if things had gone the way you thought they would have gone, what would you have made?
$2.5 million.
And because things didn't go the way they thought, you still were profitable, but not as much as you wanted to be.
Yeah. We still did really good.
But more importantly, you're out of that jam.
Totally.
Like, who cares about the money? The stress is gone.
Yeah, the unbelievable lifting of that weight off of our shoulders was so worth. That's why I was okay with even losing the money. Like, I wanted to start the new year with all of the kind of, I don't want to say negativity, because I love that house and the house turned out amazing, but it was negative in the terms of me just constantly having to pay that money every month. I wanted to start the new year without that weight, I guess is probably the best way to say it.
So you got an offer from probably the most qualified buyer that you could get. I'm guessing it was all cash.
Totally. And I had, in my mind, I had what my minimum number was going to be, and he was underneath that. And, they kept wanting like 30 days and, all these other clauses, blah, blah, blah. And I said, listen, you're not giving me a reason to go below my floor. You want me to go below my floor? Close in 5 days. Tell me you close in 5 days. Have your, close in 10 days. Do a 5-day due diligence, close in 10 days. And we landed up closing in 12 days with a 10-day due diligence. That was it. So it was a nail biter down to the end,
Well, the check has cleared and you're out of that jam.
Yeah. That's great.
Dude, what were the big lessons from that particular buyer? Like, what did you learn? Like, that's a pretty cool situation where you get to butt heads with somebody who's probably built, I don't know, several thousands of houses.
Thousands.
Tens of thousands.
Massive builder.
Yeah.
I'm still learning from this situation because he wanted a very specific type of title policy that I had never heard of before. And I'm going to do some research about it, and we'll talk about it next week, because I want to know why he was so adamant about having this type of title policy. Because I mean, you sold almost as many homes as me, maybe even more. I think I've sold 7,000 houses. What's your number?
Oh yeah, I'm like 3,000. I bought and sold 4,000.
So between us, it's a giant amount. Have you ever seen a title policy pay out?
I've never even heard of it.
Right. Right. It's like a license to steal, right? Title insurance is a license to steal. They never pay out. And even if in the rarest occasion that they do pay out, they sue everybody to get their money back right away. It's not like they just pay out and take their lumps. They chase you to the very end. So
they're like the grift at the end, dude. They've got they're the silent killer. They're in there taking their money for closing a deal. The insurance grift. People always say, "Oh, you need to have insurance. You need to have insurance." Listen, you don't need insurance. It's a requirement because the insurance companies write the rules.
Right. Totally. And this insurance policy, listen, this insurance policy was like $30,000. You think that's ever going to pay out if there happen to be some title problems later on down the road, which there's not, because they did the most complete title search imaginable before they even issue the policy.
What is the policy?
It's just a total grift. The whole industry is a total grift.
Yeah, it's one of those things I think could be disrupted, because the way that it's done right now is you have, and it's gotten way worse. Like the way it's done right now is they're using technology where they want you to go in, log in, put your face on a freaking loop and scan your face. And the only thing they were selling before was service. Now they're not even selling service, and it's just like, go in there, get your damn, and for those guys who don't know, I have never heard of a title insurance company paying out.
Me neither. Never.
Yeah.
I've been in the business for 27 years. I've never seen a claim. I've never heard of a claim being paid out. Nothing.
Yeah, it's to say, if you're going to get into the insurance business, that's the one I'd get in.
And by the way, the local, so by the way, there's only 3, I think, real title insurance companies, right? There's First American, there's Fidelity, and Old Republic. And every other escrow company buys one of those 3 policies.
Yeah.
And the commissions on those things are like 50%. So if they sell you a $30,000 title insurance policy, the local escrow company is making $15,000 on that policy. The grift is it's one of the most egregious, disgusting grifts there is.
Yeah, it's easy. It would be easy to upset that, because they don't need much to insure. They're not insuring. They're insuring against something that they can basically identify. They can identify every risk at the table, right. And if they can't identify the risk, they give an exception and they label and say, we're not insuring against that risk. So
totally.
It's not,
and you have to indemnify that portion.
And so it's not like insurance for something to happen, because whatever's already happened, they've already done the research on. It's insurance against what they could find out at the closing table, and then you're paying it right then and there, and they're getting all their money. And then maybe in the rare occasion, like we just said 11,000 homes. So obviously in 11,000 homes that something wasn't found out, they may or may not pay that shit out.
Yeah, it's just and who does that hurt the most? It obviously hurts, home buyers and sellers, right? Like they're having to pay all this money for nothing. I don't know. Anyway. And we can move on, but it's just it's a grift.
Well, the funny thing is, to show you how big of a grift it is, the guy who is the biggest grifter of them owns the Vegas Golden Knights, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
and
that's how profitable it is.
Multi-billionaire, right? He's a multi-billionaire.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them out there. So yeah, definitely a big deal. So congratulations on what was the title policy that you were? It was called.
I don't remember, so I'm going to have the name and I'm going to have all the details by the next time we record.
Yeah, because
but I know they took like 4 days to underwrite the policy. Like, when have you ever heard of a title insurance policy taking 4 days to underwrite?
Yeah. Well, you're learning something new every day, right? So let's get into some topics right now that are going on. So it's New Year's Day 2026. Can you believe that? 2026.
Crazy.
And people are making their resolutions. I imagine that you have made some. What are some of the top things that you want to accomplish in 2026 personally?
Top things in 2026. I mean, stretch goals or just like realistic? No, let's talk stretch. Who cares about the realistic stuff? So I definitely want to be under 10% body fat.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Fast as humanly possible. And that's number one. Business goals. We want to make sure in the lending company that we're loaning out $150 million a month. I don't know if I ever told you that I invested in an AI security company for schools.
You did. Yeah, you did.
We want to have at least five states where every school is covered under our security umbrella by the end of the year.
Cool. So those are your major goals. So
I think the last one, the AI one, I think that's overly realistic. I mean, the stretch goal should be we want to have all 50 states.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's, everybody likes a fresh new year, a fresh clean slate. You're walking in with no baggage, getting rid of that house.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing. So one thing I want to talk about is some of Trump's housing reforms. I don't know if you've paid attention right now, but so he's got some administrative plans for some zoning overhauls, tariffs, impacting building costs, potentially reducing new homes by hundreds of thousands, immigration restrictions that might raise labor prices, opportunity zones. Well, how do you see the 2026 market going under Trump's watch?
Well, I think it's going to get better for sure. I think once they appoint, we talked about this ad nauseum last week. Once they appoint a new Fed chair, I think he's going to have the Trump interest rate, the same outlook on the interest rates as he is. I would be interested to know specifically which tariff relief he's going to utilize for building materials and how that's going to work out. Because I mean, the whole point of all these tariffs was to drive money into the treasury, and it just seems like more and more, this company, Apple got relief. This company got relief. This industry is getting, pretty soon we're not going to have any more tariffs. And the whole point of evening the playing field for American companies is going to be not there anymore.
Yeah, we talked a lot of politics last night at my. We had some of our neighbors over. By the way, my other neighbor has also a 2% interest rate as well. And I said, there's two people I'm jealous. I'm jealous of everybody with a 2%. A 2% interest rate. Eden was like, "You're not a jealous type of guy." I said, "I'm not, but I am jealous of anybody with you paying $2,400, them paying $2,400 on a house that's $1 million. It's just like, wow." You know what I mean? I think that it would be so magical if the rates could come down for everybody, because everybody benefits, right? Like it's a great thing to be able to not give away your money to the bank.
I mean, everybody benefits except for first-time home buyers. I mean, they benefit they'll have a lower point, but that drove the prices of the market so crazy that homes that were $200,000 before were $600,000 after that. So it was like, I don't know, it kind of negated the whole thing. I was lucky I was able to refinance into that rate. I had purchased at a different rate, and then when rates got to that level, I said, geez, I have to refinance right now.
That's the only time it makes sense. Normally, if your rate drops a little bit, it doesn't really make sense because you're just stretching out the payment. But when you have unheard of interest rates, it makes sense. I was talking to Michael, my brother-in-law, yesterday about this, and he was talking about Jeff Bezos and how Jeff Bezos. We're driving around, and I'm training him on some things, and so we're driving around, and he's paying attention to all these abandoned shopping malls out here in Missouri, and he's like, "Man, I don't know where are these people going to go to work." And I was talking to Ina a little bit about it today on our run, and she's like, "Well, I think people are going to go digital." And I said, "I think some people are going to go digital, and I think some people are going to go agrarian, where they're going to go back to the self-sustained lifestyle." But I think we are at a place in the marketplace where, even though we've been going with Amazon now for 20 plus years, almost 30 years with Amazon, they have really disrupted the market. The disruption is in plain sight. And now you've got TikTok Shop, you've got everything. I mean, these stores, I think that a lot of them, we talked about Target, we talked about, Home Depot. I just went to Home Depot just right before we got on this podcast. to go buy something for my house. And I get there and it's $17 for the small item, and I could buy 10 of them on Amazon for $12.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, like all these places are going to either downsize or because who the hell wants to leave their house to go to the mall?
Well,
by the way, before I forget, that shirt is amazing. What kind of shirt is that? I really love that color.
Gucci.
Oh, that's a nice color.
Yeah,
it's a hoodie.
It's in my color wheel.
Okay, yeah, it's a nice color. I like it.
My friend Celeste is an image consultant. She showed me my color wheel one time. Said these are the colors that you should buy.
I like that color. I'm gonna take a picture of that one. So what do you see happening, Jason? Like your kid, you've got 2 kids under the age of 15, 1 kid under the age of 5, 1 kid that's 12 years old, right? Already 11 or 12.
But hold on a second. Let's go back to your original question, because I think this ties into the overall political situation that we're talking about right now, as it pertains to specifically immigration.
Yeah, right.
So one of the reasons that I think it's so important to deport as many people as possible that are not supposed to be here is, with all of these technological disruptions, where do these jobs go? Well, I can tell you that if you are able to deport 20 million people, that's a good start to figuring out where the next jobs are going to come from.
I just don't see that happening. I don't see them deporting 20 million people. I see Trump switching on that. I think what's going to happen, do you know where the Make America Great Again slogan came from?
Ronald Reagan.
Who granted the single biggest amnesty ever?
Oh, right, ever. It was a gigantic mistake. He was a California rancher. Listen, I grew up in California too, and I totally understand the Mexican part of the migration. But what we have in this country now is not that. So being in construction on the West Coast, you meet most of your workers who happen to be undocumented Mexicans, right? And those guys work hard as can be. Yep. And I really have a lot of respect for them, especially the guys from Mexico. But there is an entire different wave of immigrants that have come here specifically in the last, 8 to 10 years that are not part of that Mexican, hardworking class. And, I think they're right to focus on the criminals first, because I think almost everybody, every sane person agrees that those guys shouldn't be here. But I think that, you're probably going to have to grant some work permits for people, but you have to get the vast majority of all of the undocumented or illegal aliens, however you want to say it, out of here. You have to get them off the government dole. You have to get them off of, the food stamps. You have to get them off of the rental assistance. You have to get them off of the welfare assistance. You have to do that in order to make sure that there are jobs for American citizens. Like, that should be the first responsibility. And when you see all of this disruption happening, and you ask yourself, like, where are all these people going to work? You drive by empty shopping centers and you realize that one little shopping center is probably several hundred retail jobs.
My question is, are the Americans willing to do the jobs that immigrants do?
Well, it's interesting, right? You just brought that up with your accounting guy. I think you and I specifically, well, not just you and I specifically, but I think most American business owners prefer to hire other American citizens, right from the jump. That was your first inclination to do that. That's my first inclination to do that. And, what's happening is that we just simply can't find the quality of labor that we want. And I know everybody says, oh, you're scapegoating, whatever. It's not true. It's not true. Like, I genuinely want to hire American workers first in my company. I believe in that. I want to do it. And what's happened is we've had so many people try to work at the finance company, and They wash out so fast. They don't want to work that hard. They think that there's easier jobs for the same money elsewhere.
Right. Yep.
To where we've now had to engage, an AI consultant to see if we can do some of the, the repetitive type tasks through AI. I have my son reaching out to the local university, to some of the professors in the financial schools to see if we can give some of the young college students, their first entry into the financial business. But posting job openings, whether it be Indeed or Craigslist or wherever, just has not gotten us where we want to be.
Dude, and that's a great topic to kind of jump down right now. Indeed is bullshit. You don't get nothing on there. It's a total, like, that's another site that was good, has gone bad. There's, because you don't even have the person anymore these days who even looks at the job that they're applying for.
Yeah.
They just click a button and you're getting,
they throw their resume to everybody.
Well, and then Indeed's pushing all these stupid resumes your way too. So you as the employer,
well, they do that so they can charge you. They charge you per resume.
Yeah, and if you do the free one, you get nothing.
Yeah.
And if you do and Craigslist used to be great. I think that there's a lot of promise for other companies that are willing to take out some of these big companies that aren't doing a good job for the consumers. But going back to our point about, I just don't think enough Americans are willing to do those jobs. Like when you're telling me that, I think of how many guys that are born in the US are willing to frame and climb houses. Like, I don't see a lot of guys willing to do that anymore. Or how many guys and women are willing to clean apartment complexes. And all the jobs that I've relied on people who are mostly undocumented, I would just assume. I've never actually said to somebody, "Are you undocumented?" But it's not a question I ask.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, it's a don't ask, don't tell. But I don't see a lot of our workforce wanting. I'm nervous about our generation, or about the next generation, I guess.
So, and I guess this brings up this kind of. I'm really glad we do all these talks, because it shows how all of these topics that we're talking about kind of interlock with each other. I watched the Jensen Huang podcast with Joe Rogan.
Amazing one.
I mean, and he's talking about the next wave of millionaires, and I've heard this before, are going to be plumbers and electricians, master plumbers and electricians that know how to, build these data centers. And I don't know how many data centers there are going to be, and it's one of the topics that I want to talk about, because I've had in the last week, I've had 3 phone calls from people asking me if I finance data center construction of data centers. And so I do think that there is, going to be a migration back to skilled labor from this kind of unnecessary college labor that you're getting now. You're getting a lot of college educated. Listen, I think degrees in art history are important, right? To know where we've come from and to understand art and history and things like that are super important. But are they important for the amount of people that we have graduating in those majors, or whatever underwater basket weaving major, these crazy colleges are offering these days that just don't have any real world application? So, back to the data center thing. And I do think that there is going to be a migration back to physical labor. The men of this country, the young men of this country, are going to have to learn to work with their hands again. They're going to have to learn how to build things, how to create things, and how to, how to be men again.
Yeah, I think that's long overdue. I think it's one of those things that, I don't have the skill set to teach my son those trades, because my dad didn't teach me those trades, and I never learned those on my own. And but I do have the tools to now, at this stage in the game, to get him access to people who work for me that can teach him those skill sets. And if you're listening right now and you're a young person and you're looking to start a business, I will tell you straight up, what Jason said is 1,000% what I believe. If you want to become a millionaire, get in construction. Become an HVAC tech, become an electrician, become a plumber, and then take all of that money that you make and invest in real estate, and you will be richer than anybody any of your friends.
Without any of the debt.
100%. And there's not enough people doing it. Like there's and the guys, there's basically not a lot of talent in that. I mean, how many guys have you burned through?
So I try to keep my guys for as long as I can.
Yeah.
But I'm on my fourth electrician.
Yeah.
My plumber's pretty solid. I like him. My HVAC guy is unbelievably solid. My framer that I went back to, crawling on my hands and knees, begging him to take me back after the fiasco that I went through with that house, is as solid as it gets. So I try to keep my people as long as possible.
Yeah, I've got the same HVAC tech in Vegas for 18 years.
Yeah.
If he's as solid as
electricians are tough. They're tough.
Electricians, and to be honest with you, in Kansas City, I've had the hardest time with HVAC. The absolute hardest time with HVAC. Everybody out there, these guys are trying to make so much stinking money on one job that they're going to put you out of business. You know, and it's incredible to me that somebody values their time that much. And I'm not the type of person that's counting someone else's money, but I'm definitely counting how much money I spend on an item.
For sure.
And if you're going to make $20,000 on a job that you do in one day, you know, I'm not okay with that for something I'm paying, you know.
You know, it's interesting. So with the group of subcontractors that I have now, I was telling the story yesterday. I don't even negotiate their prices with them anymore. If they bid with me, they give me a price that I think is fair, I just pay it. But I expect the work to be perfect. It's become apparent to me that every time I ground one of these guys down to the nub, which is what I used to do, everything goes wrong. Yeah. They bid it so low, and it lands up costing me 3 times as much money in the end. And every time that I did it, I would hear my father in the back of my head saying, "Hey, Jason, these guys that work with their hands, you pay them what they deserve, pay them right, pay them fast, pay them what they ask for." And every time I didn't heed that advice, and I ground these guys down to the nub, and they wanted to work so bad because they saw future work with me, it always landed up being a disaster. So now, you know, if they hand me a bid that I think is crazy, I just bid them out with somebody else. Yeah. And if they don't get the job, and they call me, "Jason, how come I didn't get the job?" "Well, you were $20,000 higher than somebody else on the first bid. I didn't even grind the guy. You know, he gave me the price that he thinks is fair, just like I do with you, and he was 20,000 cheaper than you. How do you explain that?" And then they miss out on that job, and you know, I let them bid I give them the opportunity to bid the next one.
That's kind of the same. That's kind of the same. I don't grind anybody down. I'm telling you, like, I'm not. If I'm getting a bid for $7,000 and you're 23,000, and I've got 2 other bids for 8, 9, and 10,
totally,
and you're still 23,000. I mean, it's just crazy. So yeah, going back to that topic, I definitely agree with you that the jobs of this generation need to be in the trades.
And you know, you think about it, and even when it comes to like AI, right, and robotics, I mean, who's putting together these robots? Like, you still have to be good with your hands, right? Like the engineers that are building the engineers that are building these initial robots, they're not building factories with robot arms first. They're putting these robots together by hand. They're figuring this thing out. They're figuring out that they have to do things themselves, and they have to build themselves. And I think that if you're handy and you know how to do things, then you're always going to be fine.
if you can be the person that you can call and you can figure it out or fix it, that's a valuable skill. I mean, I can't tell you, I can't tell you how, like Jason said, to be able to have one person that you never let go because they're so valuable. And I've had those guys where they're more expensive now because they were too cheap, like you said, and you didn't argue with their prices, and their prices came up and you kept paying it because they're valuable and they understood it.
Totally.
You understand it, and you're like, yeah, I'm happy to pay what you ask for, because it's nice to not have to worry about the person that you're dealing with making that wrong decision. But there is so many untalented people as well in that profession.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you are in that profession and you are one of the ones that are untalented, I would say figure out how to get talented, because you're in the right place already.
Yeah. Take pride in your work.
Right. Take pride in your work. Just a little. A little.
Man, I am so happy that you turned into the Millionaire Mentorship Podcast. It's something that I've been working on for over 3 years right now. We're up to 150 podcast episodes. A lot of them are virtual. A lot of them are in studio, which is what we prefer. If you have a guest that you think that should be on our podcast, all you got to do is comment who it is, and we'll reach out to them. Or if you want to reach out to them and reach out to us, we'd love to have them on a show. We're looking for entertaining, inspirational people that, just like you hear on the podcast every week, that can bring value and help our listening audience achieve their goals. If that's something for you, comment down below and let us know.
So you think that, everybody is going to get out of here, or he's going to be able to, I guess, evict, for lack of a better word, deport majority of the illegal immigrants? I think that I don't even see that being a possibility. I just think it's not going to happen.
Well, I don't either. I mean, I think what I'm saying is that's how you could ensure that Americans would have jobs. I mean, because they could make it so uncomfortable for undocumented people to be here that they would just leave. Like, for instance, if you started taxing remittances at an extraordinarily high level, or you implemented that e-verify system that people have been talking about for 10 years, where employers would get in serious, or the employer would get in trouble for employing an undocumented worker. Just those two things at all, I mean, I think you would get probably 50% of them at least to leave.
What's the tax you're referring to?
The remittance.
Yeah.
Like when an undocumented person sends money back to their countries for their family in that other country to live.
Yeah. That'll get rid of that would probably be one of the smartest things that they could do. I just don't think that they want him out of here. I think it's just a talking point. I think that they're going to take, I really believe, and you can mark my words, obviously right here, is that I believe that they're going to get rid of most of the criminals. And I think that Trump is going to go down in history, and he's going to grant amnesty and try to strengthen the tax base, because that's what it comes down to. Why go and spend all the money getting rid of everybody when you can make them all legal and get the tax base?
So the challenge with that is it would basically put the Republican Party, his party, in a position where they wouldn't win another election for probably 20 years.
I think the Republican Party is not what it used to be.
Maybe.
It's not. Listen, you went from guys batting around a hockey puck of saying deport, and then they never did anything for years. They said it, and they said they had these hard lines. Interestingly enough, I want to take another sidestep. Did you realize that the Republican Party was not even established until Abe Lincoln was around?
Yes.
Okay. So the Republican Party is a fairly newer party, all things considered.
I mean, that's almost 200 years, right?
No.
1876 or whatever.
It's like 150 years. Our country's almost 250 years old. So I think that the parties, where they're at right now.
1867? I don't know, somewhere around there.
Well, yeah, it was. What I'm saying is, we haven't. People have said we've always been a two-party system, but no, we haven't. And that thing's changing right now. I don't think that the Republicans are going to be the same as before and after Trump. I think that Trump is going to change things. He was always a Democrat before he became a Republican. I don't think he really cares which party he's in. I think he's creating his own party. And I believe that it's just common sense to say, you know what? They've allowed this to happen. For him to clean up this mess and say, let's deport everybody, it just doesn't make sense. When you could say, you know what? I'm going to give everybody their citizenship. If you haven't committed a crime and you're willing to pay taxes, I'm going to give you a pathway to citizenship. That would unite the country, not divide the country. And I think most people would be okay with that.
I mean, he needs to put in my opinion, he would need to put a price tag on that, right?
Well, that's the taxes.
Right. Well, I mean, he would need to have an initial tax to that $10,000 jump the line fee or whatever.
There'd be some sort of a levy on your social security number. You know, it would be something. He'd come up with something creative. I don't think that it makes sense to deport, especially people who've been here for 20 and 30 and 40 years, man. It's like, keep them here.
Right. That I totally understand. But the people that have gotten here in the last 6 years.
I'm with you.
That's close to 10 million.
Yeah, I'm with you.
6 years.
I'm with you. But the people that have been here for, 15, 20.
That
30,
I totally agree with.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. But the ones that have come in the last say 6 years, that's, that all the ones that got here, like Biden administration till now, got to go.
All right. So tariffs, we mentioned that. I think it's a talking point. Trump's going to talk about it and say, hey, the tariffs are great. Has it affected my pocketbook? No.
So let me ask you let's get back to that, because you were saying something about he was going to give tariff relief in order to make home prices more affordable. Did they talk about which tariffs they were going to try to give relief to?
Well, I would imagine it was, no, they didn't. Not that I heard, but we could jump into that. So, what tariffs?
Rocket.
Yep.
I think whenever we don't know the answer to something, we should have like a little red button.
Well, it's the same thing that they do on Rogan,
Rocket.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so no confirmed tariff reductions on housing materials. Proposal of suggestions, recent actions that avoided increases but didn't reduce. Tariffs that are raising and maintaining housing costs. Okay, softwood lumber, aluminum, copper, gypsum, drywall. Yeah, I don't think there's anything really there. But here's the thing I want to get to is like, what the tariff doesn't help us good or bad. And this is the thing that I brought up to at my party last night. We had some friends over, and I mentioned it before. And one of my neighbors was like, well, what do you think about the KC streetcar? And I was like, anything that the government gives us, I want, because otherwise they're just going to blow our fucking money. And that's the same thing I think about with tariffs. We're not going to see the tariffs. We're not going to see that good or bad. Trump could talk about it all he wants, but we're not going to see that. So I am a fan of, I say, make the healthcare free, get rid of the private healthcare sucks. It absolutely sucks. American people shouldn't want it. There should be something that is better. Call it the VA, right? Or something for the American people, because privatized healthcare sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Medicare is fantastic. People who have Medicare love it. Mm-hmm. I have never heard one person who's on Medicare complain. I always hear them. My neighbors, again, last night, they're like, we're on Medicare. We get free gym memberships. I have a friend who's on Medicare. He's like, it's the best. Now I've got private health insurance and it's bullshit. I pay for everything. So I think that's one of those things that I'm for healthcare for some sort of.
So yes, right. For sure. But I think there has to be some kind of trade-off, because like in any situation, there's not an infinite number or infinite amount of money. So I think
they're blowing it anyways, dude. They have the money is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So that's exactly where I'm going. So what are we willing to give up in order to get that? Like, so if they're
I'm not willing to give up anything. I'm just willing to have them start spending less.
Okay, where?
I mean, you name it, dude. Like they are fucking wasting our money. I mean, if there's $18 billion being stolen in Minnesota, and there's
100%.
billions. There's billions.
But listen, Elon tried that, and he got like 150 death threats a minute.
Yeah,
he tried. He tried that. He got 150 death threats a minute or something ridiculous. He was vilified for all he did was look at the data. He just said, "Give me the data room, and I'll show you what's happening." They published all the results, and people went bananas, called him a Nazi, all kinds of crazy shit. Taxation
without representation is kind of where we're at right now. You know what I mean? We're paying a bunch of taxes. We don't have what we should have for as much as we paid. And people who love to talk about, and that's the funny thing about all this. When you talk to regular people, and they're like, "Yeah, of course the rich should pay their fair share." And
what do you consider your fair share? And they all say 20 to 25%.
Right. And the reality is everybody is being taxed on everything every day.
I mean, your same dollar gets taxed like 10 or 15 times down the road.
Right. And if we really cared about things, we'd have less government. I mean, big government should be dead. They don't need as much big government as they used to. It's just gotten so big. I would say shut down a bunch of these things. Get us. We need this. We need the Secretary of Defense. We need someone to protect our borders, right? Mm-hmm. We need, and I think that, like, if you looked at TSA, you could make that part of the military, right? Like, you could get rid of TSA and say, I'd rather deal with our men in uniform than I would deal with some of these TSA.
Or at least make it part of the FBI, something.
Yeah, like we just need less agencies. We don't need have these FBI guys go start frisking us, dude. Like, there's get rid of the DMV. Why the fuck do we have a DMV? There's no point in that. Everything could be done online. There is no point of a DMV. Get rid of it. Like, I'm for shutting down everything.
Yeah, just let technology take over and do a lot of, there's so much facial recognition software now that you could take your own picture. Like, you could go online and have
let's
while you're on the website, take your picture, send you the driver's license later.
Let's talk about the IRS, man. I'm going to, there's this new thing on the IRS's website called ID.gov or something like that, where you have to go in there and register. And I'm talking to my accountant. They're like, "Oh, it's a 6-week waiting time for all this shit to happen." Shut every freaking government organization down. Shut them all down. Like, we don't need the TSA. Use the military. We don't need the DMV. Privatize that. You know what I mean? Make that give it to somebody, like, give it to Bezos, dude, or something. I don't know. Get rid of all of these other what other stupid agencies are there? And then you got these quasi government agencies like Clark County, right? Like, you've got Clark County, then you got the city of Las Vegas, and then you've got the sewage and water district. Like, it's just ridiculous. We have too many hands in our pockets,
Yeah.
And one thing I think, go ahead.
I do really wish the Doge thing was successful, just as a matter of reporting, so people could see how much waste and abuse there was. I wish it was taken to the very nth degree, so they could just publish like every line item in the budget, and everybody could see how much waste was there, because they had just started scratching the surface,
Yeah, and I think that, as you mentioned that, I think about U.S. aid, another thing. The one thing that I'm for national parks. I'm for I'm for our museums. I'm for our history. I'm for the highway system. Anything. I'm for aviation, airports, things like that. But anything that's just stupid. Like what is the point of TSA? Does anybody feel like they're getting their money's worth with the TSA?
No, but like you mentioned USAID, and I think, there is a lot of money going to foreign governments, and you have to ask yourself, for what?
For what?
For what? And I understand the projection. I understand the projection of soft power versus just solely relying on a military. Like, why would you send your military to kill a bunch of people if you could just send medicine and blankets and they could be on your side? I understand all that, but I think the amount of money that Americans pay for that, I really do think that the return on investment is not there.
I think that I think
a lot of these other countries have the healthcare that you're talking about. They have a much better situation when it comes to childhood education than we do, and yet we're still giving them money. Like, why are they not paying us for our protection?
I mean, that's what we've been for years. Let's see. There are, how many government agencies are there? You've got the EPA, NASA, Social Security. There is.
I mean, I still remember when we went into Iraq the second time. The whole thing was we were going to get the oil to pay ourselves back, and here we are, $39 trillion in debt. A large part of that is because of the 20-year war on terror, where we took none of the oil to pay ourselves back.
All right. Well, here's this: we have 441 government agencies. Can you name even 10?
If I thought about it, I could, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So just get rid of 400 of them.
Right.
Just get rid of 400 of them, and then we'll have all the money to do whatever the hell we want and reduce people's taxes. And, let's take care of our soldiers. Let's take care of our people. Let's take care of our Social Security people. There's some good thing. Let's protect our parks, our national security, our board. But again, why do we need Border Patrol when we have the military? To me, that's
supposedly there's some laws that says that the military cannot operate inside the United States or whatever.
They have the National Guard, right? The National Guard.
They need to change that quickly.
All right, so let's touch on a few topics before we go before we blaze out of here. Going back to New Year's resolutions and housing in 2026 and things like that. You've mentioned some ambitious goals with $150 million in loans, and you've mentioned other things like that. My question to you is, how many things do you think are going to change in 2026 to make that happen?
Well, I think the economy is going to be in a much different place going forward. A lot of people are going to see the benefits of the one big beautiful bill. And when they start getting some of that money back, when they realize that they can buy all of these different things and, use the first year bonus depreciation. And I think companies are going to ramp up their spending. And if interest rates come down, and that, gets a perfect storm of everybody, being involved in the economy again and pushing everything forward.
Well,
this is a quick. We could go further into it if you want, but that's just a quick answer.
Well, I think that the reality is most people in America, to summarize, don't save any money. They spend it all, right? They spend it all. And so for the way that the American economy to work is, there's just got to be more spend, and if there's right. not more spend, there's not much money. I'm a saver. But I do spend a lot of my money putting into real estate, houses. I'm somebody who makes the wheels of the economy turn, but I don't do it with, services and, things like that. So I think that in order for the economy to roll,
housing has to be recovered.
Yeah, you got to have that housing roll, and you got to have. But I have seen out here, and I don't know what it looks like in Las Vegas right now, but there's a lot of new construction projects rolling right now for the first time.
Lots.
And for the first time in a while. So I think that the big money is not scared, and they're starting to get things going for what they see happening. Because the way that those construction projects have happened, they're lining up with a first quarter delivery date or a second quarter delivery date, or maybe even a third quarter delivery date of 2026. And I feel those plans were laid out. They weren't just like, oh, you know what, we're going to get out there and build 200 houses. Like I've seen stalled ass projects all start to roar up here in Kansas City. Like just on my drive, which you've been up on this drive. There's, I think, one I pointed out to you before that I watched it sit there, and now it's rolling. Another one, sit there, it's rolling. And that's just on my drive to the Home Depot. I'm seeing all this shit happening. So I think that the big money is betting that interest rates are coming down in the early part of 2026.
I think so too. I see a lot of the construction happening here as well. I think that these guys are making bets that by the time their project is ready to deliver, that the economy will have already recovered. They're just trying to time that so the convergence happens at the same time.
So I got a wild question for you. In a dream world, if you were to be reborn again, start your life over, what career would you pursue in today's age? Not in when you grew up, but right now, having a crystal ball, or what thing are you pushing your kids towards? You know what I mean? What area? Because when I ask my kids, I say, what do you want to do when you grow up? Their answer is, I have no idea. And so I realized, like, I got to push them to where I want them to go, because they're not going to know what direction that they want to go. They're not going to know until they know. And for right now, I've got to give them the skills and the confidence to get where they want to go. But if I was to do it over, I would probably get a degree in law, and that's probably where I would go.
So assuming that I had the brain power to do this, and I know that's a big leap, I would probably want to pursue a degree in electrical engineering.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I just took the brain power part out of it and went for law, because I think I absolutely, I'd be like, my neighbor last night told me, she goes, yeah, one of my sons lives in Seattle. The other one lives in Cape Girardeau, which is a southern town in Missouri here. And I said, well, what does your son in Seattle do? She goes, he works for SpaceX. And I said, how lucky is that kid? Yeah. How lucky is, because you know anything about Elon Musk, he's not hiring idiots. Like, if you're working with Elon Musk,
right, you're smart.
You're a smart motherfucker. And he's a mechanical engineer.
And motivated. You're smart and motivated.
You are smart and motivated. Yeah. So, and I guess, she was kind of saying that he was complaining a little bit because the job he had at Microsoft was pretty cush, and he could work from home and do all that stuff. And if you're working with Elon Musk, you're not working from home.
Mm-mm. I mean, I just chose electrical engineering because electricity and power is, in my mind, the same thing, or is in the same position as real estate, where it touches everything. And, I always, my cousin said something, my cousin owns a ton of truck stops and gas stations. And I asked him how he chose that business. And he said, I just looked around and said, what do people have to buy? Not that they want to buy, what do they have to buy? And he said, it was gas. Like, everybody has to buy gas. They have no choice. They have to buy gas. And I think that's the future also. People are going to have no choice. They are going to need power. They're going to need electricity. They're going to need energy. They're going to need, it's one of those things that is completely not negotiable. It is going to happen no matter what type of power it is. They are going to have something that fuels that. And I would want to be right in the middle of that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that that's something that, people say, well, you got to be careful. Oil is going to go away. I think that oil will probably definitely go away from how we use it today. But, that's going to be just as dangerous, because once they can crank your electrical bill up, I'm just not convinced that fossil fuels is going away that fast. Like, I'm just not convinced. I mean, it kind of has, though, Jason. If you think about it,
we're pumping more gas and pumping more oil than ever before.
You drive a Cybertruck, right?
I do. I love it.
Yeah.
It's ugly as shit, but that thing is awesome.
They've grown on me, man. I do not think they're just. I saw one coming down the on ramp as I was driving down the freeway and seeing that laser beam across the
headlight.
And I'm like, that fucking car is bad, mother. Yeah, and I've seen another one that's been like matted out with army mat, and I'm like, those cars are fucking. I want one, and I'm regretting it, but I think that those types of cars, they're not using gas anymore, and I think there's going to be a lot more electric cars in the next 5 years, like more and more electric cars.
But how are they going to power all of those electrical plants?
Nuclear.
Well, we'll see. Everybody's been ringing that bell for 30 years. We'll see. Solar. How sunny is it in Kansas City right now?
Oh man, we got 300 days of sunshine out here.
Sure.
No, I'm serious.
I had a really funny exchange with Gemini this week. I like messing around with all these AIs, right? So this week I was on Gemini, and I was talking to Gemini about data centers, and because I wanted to talk about data centers on this thing, because so many people have been calling me asking me if we finance the construction of these things. And one of the things that it was talking about is it immediately started with the clean energy and data centers, and it kept combining wind/solar whenever it spoke, or whenever it would answer one of my questions. And it was so interesting. And I knew that none of these data centers that Google was building or anybody else was building was even thinking about using wind, but it kept talking about, they're locating them next to wind/solar farms. And I finally started drilling down and finally asked the question. So realistically, what you're saying is all of these data centers that you're saying are next to wind/solar farms are actually only next to solar farms. Like absolutely none of them have been planned near wind farms. Is that correct? And finally, it had to admit that that is true, that there were no data centers near wind farms, that they were combining wind and solar unnecessarily.
I think the jig is out on wind. Wind was a big disaster, and hearing about some of the things about the whales and the vibrations and them dying and stuff like that, and just I don't like the way they look. I mean, you go down this nice area, whether you're driving in Texas or driving in California, you've got this beautiful,
the road to Palm Springs.
Yeah, it's just ugly, man.
Horrible. And if you go there, the amount of birds that you're going to see dead everywhere, just everywhere. The amount of wildlife that they kill is unbelievable. Like I think
they're good for the environment, though. They're good for the environment.
Really? Too. Have you ever gone out and driven amongst the wind turbines in California? They're rusted, leaking oil, because you got to oil those things to keep them going right. Like this is what I'm saying. Like that wind thing was a total scam.
Totally.
A total scam. They're leaking oil. They're rusting. It's almost impossible to pull those things down. Now, how are those things going to be dismantled, and what kind of eco-friendly way are you going to bury those things in a trash heap somewhere? Like it's impossible. It's just a disaster. But anyway, back to the it was interesting that they kept trying to that Gemini showed its bias with this clean energy thing, trying to do it.
So going back to your data center, this is interesting. So right now it says, as of currently 2025, or I guess as of yesterday, there are 5,426 active operational data centers nationwide in the U.S. Includes all sizes from small, on-premise, massive, hyperscale facilities for large-scale, hyperscale, and major areas, facilities. The count is around 569 with a combined power capacity of 17,000 733 milliwatts or megawatts. The U.S. represents 45% of the global total of centers worldwide. And it says under construction, there are nearly 3,000 new data centers currently under construction or in advanced planning stages across the U.S. Pipeline includes both under construction and planned right now. For major hyperscale projects, Microsoft alone has 111 facilities under construction. That's amazing right there. 111 under Microsoft. Key hotspots include Northern Virginia, Texas, Ohio, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. Construction costs around $86 billion for 2026. Let's see. Anything else? I asked also who's going to build the biggest one. The largest planned data center by power capacity is the New Era Lea Data Center in Lee County, New Mexico, projected to be 7 gigawatts across a 3,500 acre campus powered by a mix of natural gas and nuclear. It is being developed by New Era Energy and Digital, a Texas-based company listed on the NASDAQ as New AI. Okay. That might be a good stock to look into. It's the first wholly owned project outside joint ventures. Construction is expected to start soon. OpenAI Stargate data center is in Abilene, Texas. That's a $100 billion facility. There's another one. Let's see. The Vantage data center in Texas.
Texas, everything Texas. It's
yeah.
Great.
By power capacity, the biggest one right now operational is the AWS New Carlisle Phase 1 in St. Joseph County, Indiana.
Wow.
By physical size, Switch Citadel campus in Reno, Nevada, spanning over 7.2 million square feet, operational by Switch.
Switch is an interesting story. We'll have to talk about that one of these days.
Yeah.
Do you know about that? Do you know about Switch?
Well, I know about the company. I've seen their I don't know much about it, but I know about the guy who helped develop the land, the guy who's in prison right now for the DWI, and I know that the Scott Gregson. Do you know about him?
No.
Do you remember in the Ridges about
Oh yeah. I remember where the guy he was drunk coming out of the club.
Yep.
Coming out of the club, just going right back into the gate.
Yeah, he's the one who sold all those centers. So he's the grandson of a mayor of Las Vegas and owns a ton of land in Las Vegas, and then decapitated this girl by driving drunk, and just ruining her life and ruining his in the process as well. So, but he sold most of those data centers to Switch. That's what I know about Switch. I don't know much more. So give me a brief.
So what I thought was the story of Switch, and I'll have to look into this. So there was a commercial real estate guy in Las Vegas by the name of Rob Roy, and when Enron went out of business, they were auctioning off all of the Enron assets. And one of the things that Enron had done is they had basically wired the entire country for fiber optics. And there was a small piece of land in North Las Vegas that just happened to be where all of the fiber optic cable for the entire United States that Enron laid was located. And he bought that piece of land with that connection there for something like $1.3 million and created Switch from that, which is now worth over 12 billion or something like that.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, so looking at this, while you were talking about that, I was looking up that New Era Energy and Digital Inc.
Mm-hmm.
And they're down like 70% right now, but or
I guess it's a stock to look at. Maybe it's a stock to buy, maybe it's not.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty cheap for sure. It's 150. It's only got a market cap of 156 million. That's a small ass company in today's. I mean, if you're under I would say if you're
you think that's what that data center is going to cost.
Dude, if you're under a $50 billion market cap, when I'm on, which the thing I love about AI these days too is, and I'm going to put this out there. This is a dream of mine. I would love to buy a casino. And so I'm constantly talking to AI and saying, hey, what small casinos who have a market cap of under $500 million are available for hostile takeover? What are these types of things? Because, when you're talking about $100 million, that's you're not that far out of the range of your flip that you're doing, right? Like you're not that far away from be able to get the money. You're talking about doing $150 million a month in capital in lending. $150 million company is a small ass company. That's a nothing burger. So we're dealing with, we are now talking about $1 trillion companies. We've got multiple $1 trillion companies. We've got Google. You mentioned them earlier, NVIDIA, which came from out of nowhere. Microsoft. I mean, there's going to be so many $1 trillion companies.
It's a 30-year overnight success.
Right. 100%. Yeah. So,
that was anybody who has not listened to that podcast with Joe Rogan and Jensen Huang, should listen to that. It's the stories that he told about how he started and the people that helped him along the way was incredible. Renews your faith in mankind,
You got to put it out there though, too. You've got to be that guy that attracts that, right. What I mean?
And he was honest. He showed up, he told the truth, and he let people make a decision whether or not to help him based on complete honesty. He didn't hide. That's a great thing to kind of wrap things up and say, with New Year's in the spirit, man, if you are wondering what's going on with yourself and you're trying to make new beginnings, just remember that everything starts today. Tomorrow doesn't matter, yesterday doesn't matter. The only thing that matters for your dreams is today. You can make everything happen if you start pursuing your dreams, ambitions. It doesn't matter all the failures, all the successes that you've had. All that matters, we talk about 10% body fat, that's 100% obtainable because you can decide today to do it, know? And that's the cool thing about a new year is you get a new opportunity to go and pursue your dreams, but also you could have a new year every day if you just decided to start. One of the things that I have really come to know about myself is that I'm not self-disciplined enough. And that is one of the habits that I have yet. Yeah. That's one of the habits that I'm going to develop into 2026. And, and one of the things that I'm learning, because I think a lot of people in general, they do this, whether they want to admit it or not, is there's so many, from being in yoga for the last 3 years and really getting to know myself, is man, there's so much negative loops that are playing in your head. Totally.
And if you start to tell yourself the positive things, that you can do anything that you want, that you can create the life of your dreams versus saying all these negative things, then that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. I'd like to add on to that. In my mind, one of the things that I like the best about that podcast that I listened to with Jensen and Joe Rogan was that when he went to the people that he needed help from and he told them the truth, and he told them the truth when it didn't benefit him to tell them the truth, it would have been much probably easier to lie to them and try to con and connive them into helping him by not giving them all of the facts. And he showed up and laid his cards out on the table and trusted that if he was honest, that people would want to do business with him. And I think that if you're trying to change your life, or if you want to have one thing that you focus on this year, is tell the truth even when it doesn't benefit you.
Yeah, and be honest with yourself as well.
Totally.
Don't lie.
I mean, it starts with being honest with yourself.
Yeah, there was another.
You can't do something, and don't be afraid to say no. If you can't do something for someone, just say no. I can't do that.
Right, and I think that one thing that one of the other things for 2026 is that I'm trying to tell myself is embrace the struggle. Like there's nothing worth pursuing that's easy. There's not one person on this planet that has done anything worthwhile that said that was easy.
Oh man, I skated through this thing my whole life. It was like no big deal. I was chilling.
Yeah, I was chilling. I just, so if you think
I just kind of showed up and things just happened.
Yeah. We talk about, golf and how tough that is. And I'm honest with myself. I was like, I didn't try hard enough, right? I didn't give myself enough. I didn't work at it hard enough. And you have to decide like what you want to go after. You can't go after everything. That's one of my problems is I'm a little bit distracted. Sometimes I want to try this. I want to try that. I want to try the other thing. It's like laser focus, develop the self-discipline, be honest with yourself, be kind to yourself, but don't be so kind to yourself that you're a couch potato and you don't do shit. Like get after it, man. Your time.
Right. Get after it, man. The money is actually the easy part of things. The time is the part that you're not getting back. And as our vision gets blurred and the time gets shorter and shorter that we have, we're in our winter solstice, in terms of life, right? And we just passed that December 21st. And one thing that I want to remind people is like the only thing that is accomplishing anything is you actually doing something. Thinking about it is not action. Writing about it is not action. Taking action is the only action. Right. The things that suck the most to do are usually the ones that pay you the most because nobody else wants to do them.
Right. And what sucks the most? Eating clean, going to the gym. Like nobody loves doing this stuff. People develop a habit. They might develop good, positive habits, and
so I'm gonna 50 there with you. So I love going to the gym. I really do. My old trainer, Frank Hildebrand, told me, he said, there's no drug as powerful as self-discovery. He said, if you're out of shape and you make a commitment to go to the gym, all of a sudden you'll be working out and you'll see that first vein come out in your arm. There's no drug as good as that. There's no drink as good as that. There's no milkshake that tastes as good as that. There is nothing as good as seeing you build yourself.
Yeah. 100%. I think that anytime you can make a transformation, either financially, physically, or otherwise, you're gonna feel good about it. Like it's just like when you plant a garden and you get to watch and you water that garden and you watch the fruits of your labor, and you go. And I'm starting 75 hard on Monday, and my goal is to get down to one.
Do it again, huh?
Oh yeah. I'm going down to 170, and I'm maintaining 170 the rest of the year. And
I really like that Karis and I were with you at dinner when on your last day of 75 hard. You made it the entire way. Yeah. And I was your first meal outside of your 75 days. That was amazing. Like I watched you do that. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about it again because the discipline that you develop doing something like that is life-changing. I mean, I'll work out, 45 minutes twice a day. And I'm talking about what I'm doing right now. I'll lay it out for people what this will look like is I sometimes we'll send these grandiose plans in our mind that are unattainable. So one thing I've realized about myself is I'm not getting up at 4:00 in the morning and going to the gym, but I will get up and go for a walk with my dog for 45 minutes. And I will go hit the gym at lunch, but that's my new life. It's not the guy who's going to do it I want to be at home with my family in the evening time these days. I don't want to be at the gym at 4:00 in the morning. So I will make this work for me. But I'm going to get down to 170. I'm going to do a handstand this year. I'm going to run a marathon. That's another thing I'm going to do.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Well, it's going to happen. I've run a half marathon before. I'm putting it out there because it's the new year and I've already written down all of my goals personally, financially, otherwise. And, I did my first run today of the new year. And I'm like, man, why did I say I want to run a marathon? Why? I'm just thinking to myself, why? I said, why did I do that? Because I wanted to do something that I know I'm capable of, and that I know is going to suck because it's going to make me a better person. All right, man. Well, great catching up with you guys. If you are looking to change, the easiest way to change is starting today by subscribing and sharing this video with a friend, sharing this podcast with a friend. Give us a 5-star review. We definitely appreciate it. You know, your journey, just like anything, begins with a single step. And no matter what's that?
Confucius, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with just a few small steps.
Yeah, and it continues each individual step that you take, right? Like it doesn't like, and if you've had setbacks, if you've had failures, everybody has. But you know what? If you get knocked down 6 times, get up 7, right? Like that's the name of the game. So, all right, man. Well, great catching up with you. We'll talk to you on the next one.
Cool.
Hey, thank you so much for tuning into our podcast right now. I am so happy that you are here. You are in the right spot to be getting inspired by other people that have just achieved their goals so that you can achieve your goals. Do me a favor. Leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us grow. And give us comments and feedbacks. We read those. It helps us grow. The most important person in this podcast is the listener, right? And so if you give us your feedback, it will allow us to create a better podcast for you. And make sure you enjoy the show and leave us a 5-star review.